talking today about Bruce Connor's etching. It's an etching that was part of a series of prints he did. They're really collages based on 19th century engravings. And one thing I really loved about this series of prints, and the reason why I chose it, was because Connor is referencing something I love very much, which is 19th century European prints. He chose the work of other artists, anonymous artists that he didn't know, as the ground for his collages. They're done in a very, very seamless way. It is very hard to tell where one begins and one ends. The one that I chose is the upper left-hand one. I think it's the most dramatic of the series. A lot of times it's hard to tell with Connor's prints what is going on, what's the action. He wants your eye to go all the way around the picture plane. This one we have a very clear sense of 3D space. It is taking place in a parlor. It looks like a very well-to-do family. There's art there, there's wonderful plants. You can see there's two gentlemen there, and they're basically annihilating each other. They are also dressed very nicely, kind of middle-class bourgeois gentlemen, but in place of their heads, they have machine parts. The one on the right has kind of a grid-like structure on him as well as on his back. He has a sort of a typical 19th century type pistol. The one on the left has some sort of aerator gun, and he has a wheel for a head. So I think Connor is trying to make, obviously, this connection between, they are annihilating each other. You can see the explosions going back and forth. It's more of a symbol for something that really preoccupied the artist a lot, which I think was nuclear war. Many of his films, as well as he did a print series, Bombhead, which talked about his fear of nuclear war and this idea of mutual assured self-destruction. So you can see the gentlemen are definitely not going to survive. They're sort of gesturing to each other. Another thing I think is really interesting about the print series is, of course, the title. And when I first heard the title, I said, oh, Hopper's such a great photographer, and I have to find out how they collaborated. Well, it wasn't really a collaboration. Connor chose the name of his friend. He knew Hopper from the 60s, and he actually served as sort of an informal editor for Easy Rider, the movie. Hopper was very well known when this print series was done. This is from '73. He had a big name, and so Connor decided to take his name without telling his friend and to call it the Dennis Hopper One-Man Show. He did a series of 3 print suites. This is actually the second series. And he loved that idea of ceding authorship to another artist. What would that mean, especially if you gave it to an artist who is also an actor? Hopper made his living impersonating other people. So he really loved that kind of idea. And of course, Hopper is a photographer himself, so he was an artist. Hopper apparently was totally unaware of this. And Connor tried this stunt earlier in the 60s. He really wanted to do a 2-person show with Marcel Duchamp and do the same kind of thing where Duchamp would sign artwork that wasn't his, and Connor would paint all the pedestals on the wall, and those would go unsigned. Now, Hopper's dealer thought this was a crazy idea because, of course, if something sells, who would you pay? So Connor loved to draw attention to kind of this idea of the ego, and the artist as anti-artist is something he's kind of been called. He twice faked his own death before his real death in 2008. He also would have people impersonate him. I don't think he was very comfortable with himself as an artist out there with sort of a capital A. He even did a whole posthumous exhibit called The Late Works of Bruce Connor. This was in 1959, and he didn't die until 2008. So some art historians have said, you know, one reason why Connor's work is not better known, and he did so many different things. He did films, he did assemblage, he did engravings, drawings, he did the photograms, is because he always was trying to kind of not put himself forward as an artist. And so really there's not a lot of writing on Connor. Now Dennis Hopper himself said that he considered Connor the greatest artist in his collection. And Hopper had an amazing collection of mid to late 20th century American art. So he was somebody who Hopper definitely respected. So it's sad that we don't know more about